I took the hard road. I went back to college, and I had kids while I was in college, and I quit baseball because I was frustrated because all my friends went. So there was jealousy involved, and I had to learn to get over that. I think we see other people achieving things. Why is that so easy for them, and I can't get that done? And so we throw in a towel when we haven't really given it everything we have. We're just looking at somebody else's success and judging with our own eyes that they must have had it easy because they got their dreams. Nothing is easy in this life, nothing.
Mid-South Viewpoint, a Christian news and information feature of Bott Radio Network 640 AM, discussing the news, views, issues, and concerns that affect our community. Join us now for today's edition of Mid-South Viewpoint.
Hi, and welcome to Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Pleasure to have you here on this edition of our program. We've got a full afternoon, 2 gentlemen in the studio and 1 via telephone that we're going to have a conversation about reclaiming the gospel at home. It's a conference coming to Germantown Baptist Church, January 24th through the 26th. We've got a lot of details to tell you about it, but first of all, let's welcome Josh Creason and John Longworth to our program. Gentlemen, welcome to Mid-South Viewpoint. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. Good to be here.
I think you guys said you were kind of dealing with a little head cold or something?
A little bit. We're recovering.
Well, I'm not going to ask you guys to sing. I think I told you in the hallway I might have you sing a song. So you can relax about that. We're just going to have a great afternoon and time together talking about reclaiming the gospel at home conference. First, John, why this conference at Germantown?
Well, we're excited about providing information about how the gospel really affects every area of life. It becomes our guiding priority for all aspects of life, but especially in the home.
You have small children, Josh. It provides an opportunity to practically live out the gospel.
Right. This is about where the rubber meets the road in life. It's not just what goes on at church, but what happens at home and how that influences generations to come, and whether a home has one person or, like mine, 6. It's how the gospel impacts every decision that happens there.
Well, also we want to welcome Jim Morris, who is a retired professional baseball player, also has a story to tell. Jim, welcome to Memphis via telephone.
Oh, thanks, Byron. Glad to be here.
Tell me, where are you at right now?
I am in the hill country in Texas, outside of San Antonio, in between San Antonio and Austin.
So there's actually hills in Texas?
We do, and right now it's cedar season, so it's so thick, the pollen is everywhere.
Oh, my. So you might be dealing with a little congestion yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, you and your wife have 5 children. Take us into the Morris home. Tell us about growing up. Tell us about how you met your wife, a little about your family.
Interesting you should ask that. I met my wife on a blind date. It was the year the movie came out, as a matter of fact. The movie, The Rookie, ended where it did with my ex-wife because she showed up at the field and said, when you come home, you need somewhere else to live. And so that brought that marriage to an end.
And let's back up a little bit. We didn't mention about the movie starring Dennis Quaid called The Rookie, and it was really based on your life.
Absolutely. I look exactly like that, too. No, I'm like,
We've seen pictures.
These guys know the truth, Jim.
But he is a handsome man.
After a year of moping around, my sister-in-law says, I want you to go out on a blind date. I don't want to go. Shauna doesn't want to go. So we end up married 11 years now. We've got 5 kids. We've got 1 overseas serving in the Navy. We've got 1 at law school in Philadelphia. And we've got 3 teenage daughters at home.
Now, your father was a Navy recruiter, I believe.
He was. At the end of his career, he was a Navy recruiter. Yes, sir.
So I guess you moved all over the States or even all over the world? Or
we moved everywhere. By the time we moved to Texas for high school, they moved me here to play football. During my freshman year, Brownwood High School was the 30th school that I've been to. I've gone to a lot of schools. I was always the new kid. You know, there's always time to impress people and time not to. You get bullied, you get picked on, and till the 10th grade, I was just this tall, skinny guy, and so I got pushed around quite a bit. But when we moved to Texas at 15, Texas became my home, and I told people from day one I'd either live in Tennessee or Texas. And
well, you got the second best.
That's right, I know.
No, Jim, what about the gospel? When did the gospel hit a home run in Jim Morris's heart?
Oh, that would have been from the ages of 15 to 18 when I lived with my grandparents. Unbelievable people, best people I've ever known in my life.
Was there a particular reason why you had to live with your grandparents?
Don't even know the dynamics of what my parents were going through at that time. My dad was still in Florida, according to him, and my mom and my brother and I lived with my grandparents, which incidentally were my dad's parents. So for the first 15 years of my life, I learned how to blame everybody else. Everything else is everybody else's problem. nothing's my fault. And then from 15 to 18, my grandparents took us in. They showed me how to be a man. They showed me how to be a good human being. They taught me how to shake hands firmly, say yes, sir, and no, sir. And they taught me about God. And my grandmother was our church secretary at Central United Methodist Church in Brownwood for over 30 years. And Ernest had a menswear store, Ernest Morris Menswear in Brownwood. And they knew everybody. I mean, he had fought in World War II. He knew actors in Hollywood, politicians in D.C. He knew anybody that was anybody in Texas. And they would come in and buy suits from him in the middle of nowhere, Brownwood. So they knew everybody. The gospel was big in their lives. My grandfather sang in the choir quite a bit. And it was just, for 3 years, from 15 to 18, they showed me how to be a responsible person, accept my own actions, admit to them, and move on. He said, he goes, you always remember one thing about the truth, Jimmy. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. That was the way they ran their lives. They helped people that never knew they helped them anonymously, and they treated everybody like they were gold. It didn't matter where they were from, what language they spoke. And none of that mattered. My grandparents were just the most awesome people I've ever known. But getting back to that 15 to 18 period, at 18 you still think you know everything. So I had a lot of learning to do, and it took me actually until I started having my own kids around 26 that I realized, wow, my kids need God too. Always think you can handle everything else. Everything's in your control, and that's the biggest fallacy on the planet. We're not in control of anything. The only thing we can be in control of is how we read the Bible and our prayers, and that's what we're in control of. And then we just try to do what we think God would want us to do the rest of the time.
Well, Jim, I understand you were about 3 years old when you had this fascination with the baseball.
Unbelievable time in my life. Baseball was a way out for me.
Really? Was it 3 years old, though? I mean, I can't remember when I was 3 years old.
My grandmother gave me my first plastic ball and bat, and I would wear my mom and my grandma out, and then they would go in the house, and I would throw the ball off the wall until they got tired of hearing that, and they'd come back outside.
So really it was your grandmother and your mother that pitched the ball with you, not your dad?
Absolutely.
Did you have a difficult relationship with your pop?
I had a real difficult relationship with my father. It was not pleasant. You know, and another reason being a parent is so important to me now, and having my kids in a church is so important, is because of what I went through as a kid. And I tell audiences, you know, the bruises go away, the words, they stay with you. I turned 50 this weekend.
Happy birthday.
When I'm tired or feeling down, those voices still come back, and you start hearing things you were told as a kid, and I don't want that for any child. God is a big part of our lives, and we work with nonprofits that work with kids, and that's how we base our lives.
Gentlemen, isn't this just pretty ironic for the gospel? I mean, the gospel comes in the place of dysfunction because all of our lives are dysfunctional. Jim's just describing a very dysfunctional, messed up home. Awful relationship with his dad and growing up and having anger and stuff. But that's really where the gospel fits best, doesn't it, John?
Absolutely. And there's no such thing as a perfect home or a perfect family. And we all need the gospel in our lives. And we're excited about the conference because it provides opportunities for us to see and for us to demonstrate how the gospel can impact so many different facets of our homes, of our lives, how it can transform us and the relationships that matter the most to us.
When you say, Josh, reclaiming the gospel at home, why that title?
Because it takes an active effort. It's not passive. There might be a believer, but for them to recognize that the gospel didn't just save them, but it empowers them for life and gives them the guide and the way to live each moment. It's not about just getting saved. It's about the power of Christ in us in the moment.
And in Jim's story here, he didn't have a dad who was taking that lead. It was his grandparents that inspired him and showed him the gospel and how to live for Christ. Isn't that right, Jim?
Absolutely. And I always believe that God puts those people in our lives for a reason. And I absolutely believe that God saved my life by moving me to Brownwood, Texas. Even though I wasn't getting to play the baseball I wanted to, I was in a household I needed to be in at that time. And what I try to do when I talk to groups or churches or whoever I talk to is let them know even the guy next door has problems. We all can overcome that. And we've gotten away from helping each other so much in this country that we've become protectionary of our own family so much that we have time for nothing else. And if we can open those doors back up and be friends with other people and show them how God wants everybody to be. I mean, I was just sitting here reading Jeremiah 29:11, And God knows our plans. He's already got that mapped out for us. All we have to do is we got to go live it. That is just what I want the message to be. Everybody's got problems. Everybody's dysfunctional. My best friend in Dallas when I lived there was our preacher, and we'd go to lunch together, and his phone constantly went off. And it would be, the sanctuary's too hot, the sanctuary's too cold, sermon's too long, sermon's too short, there were too many songs, there weren't enough songs, there weren't enough old songs. I mean, everybody has their own version of what they think God should be. But that's just the house that we serve him in. And that's what I want people to know.
Yeah. Your journey to play Major League Baseball was far from typical that most aspiring players find their way. You signed with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at 35 years of age.
I did. 11 years after a minor league career that did not go anywhere. Living with my grandparents helped me a lot, but it didn't exactly help me mature as a man. I still thought I could do things my way the first time around, and the first 5.5 years I spent with the Milwaukee Brewers, I had 6 surgeries, and I was out of baseball by 24 and back in college. And it took a group of ragtag kids from Big Lake, Texas, to talk me back into going out and chasing my dream at the age of 35.
You challenged those kids, didn't you?
I challenged them with the only thing I knew would help them. If I pushed them, they'd want something back. And for some reason, they thought I could throw. And the whole amazing thing about this story is, at 28, when I was playing college football, I had a surgery on my shoulder in which the doctor said, you'll never, ever pitch again. Physically impossible. Well, the first time around, I throw 88, 89 miles an hour. 11 years later, at 35, after having the surgery and everything else with this group of kids, I find out I'm throwing 98 to 102. That's not me. That's not any workout plan I had. That's God. That's God give it to me in his time, not my time.
What did you learn most about competing against the guys who were really the best of the best in Major League Baseball? About their lives, about their stories, about who they are as people?
I learned we're still all dysfunctional. I mean, there are so many great stories in baseball, but our media loves to pick out the few negative ones and just hammer people with that. But there are so many good stories in baseball, and so many times I'd watch these guys after games getting on the phones immediately and calling their kids, telling them good night. Baseball is a rough game. You're on the road a lot, and to watch these guys get up and do it over and over and over was amazing for me. And to come from a classroom and be able to do that at the age of 35, after I know what it took to actually get there, is amazing that these guys put in the time they do. I mean, the planning, and baseball is such a technical game now, and I'm watching even with younger kids being put on computers for hand-eye coordination drills and all kinds of things. It's just a different game than it was when I was a kid.
Jim, do you feel that people give up too easily on their dreams? I mean, you had a dream starting at 3 years old to play baseball. Do you feel like sometimes we give up too easily on dreams?
I don't know that giving up easily is the top of the list. I think life gets in the way, and we make excuses for not trying to achieve those dreams anymore. When it's easier not to do the work, we like to do that way quite a bit. I took the hard road. I went back to college, and I had kids while I was in college, and I quit baseball because I was frustrated because all my friends went. So there was jealousy involved, and I had to learn to get over that. I think we see other people achieving things. Why is that so easy for them, and I can't get that done? And so we throw in a towel when we haven't really given it everything we have. We're just looking at somebody else's success and judging with our own eyes that they must have had it easy because they got their dreams. Nothing is easy in this life, nothing.
What are some ways, in light of your rearing, the dysfunctional family that you came from, with your family today, Jim, what are some intentional things that you do as a dad to make sure your kids and your family know that you're there for them and that you're directing a gospel-centered home in your house?
Well, first and foremost, we pray, we eat together, which growing up in the Navy, we'd eat at 11:30, 12 at night, and half the time I was already asleep and I couldn't do that. So we have dinner together, we talk as a family, we communicate with the kids who are not here as much as we can, and we do things for other people. We don't sit back and wait for people to do things for us. We go out and we help people. This year I used my deer tags and some of my wife's deer tags. We got the deer and we give them to our friends who then distribute it to people who don't have food. It's just little things that giving back is a big deal for us. And that makes our family go. And I would be lying if I said my wife isn't a very strong person because she's put up with all of us. And I have Parkinson's now, was diagnosed this year, and so her job's gotten even more stressful, and she carries more of the load. So I try to make it as easy on her as I can. And while I'm home, I take care of the house. I do those things, and I pick up the kids, and I take them, and you spend time with your kids. If you don't, you're going to lose them. you just have to spend time with them, and they have to know you care about them and not what they're capable of sometime in the future. Like, my dad always told me why I wouldn't make it in baseball. With my kids, it wasn't even about that. If you don't like baseball, then what do you like? Let's go and support you in that. And the boys both chose wrestling, of which I know nothing about. So for 4 years, I got to watch wrestling, and I still don't know anything about wrestling except that, wow, you sweat a lot.
Yeah. So many parents try to live their unfulfilled dreams through their kids by pushing them on those baseball fields or football fields. I've watched it. If his child didn't make a play, on the field, all the way home, he heard about it. It creates this definitely unnecessary tension, but it really, I think, defeats the purpose of what these type of games are supposed to instill, especially in youth. The number of people who reach the pros like you did are far and few between. But an opportunity for father and son to spend some time together, enjoy throwing the ball or enjoy the game. You can be competitive. We're guys. We can be competitive, but not to the expense of our relationship.
Right. And I see that even now with the kids that I'm coaching and the parents taking the kids to every single camp, paying astronomical amounts of money to make their kids better. And the kids, at this point in their life, that's not what they need. They don't need 10 different versions of a way to do something that has been done the same way since the first baseball was thrown. They need someone to support them. That's how it is in our house. And I watch these parents shuffling their kids all over the state of Texas and out of Texas, and I'm just going, let the kids be kids and let them figure out what it is they want and what they're good at, and then we go from there. And I've done that with every one of my kids, and I have never cursed my kids. I've never beat my kids. I learned how not to parent from my parents. That's how I have to look at it. And so my kids have never had to look at any of that. They don't know anything about that, and they shouldn't, because that's not how you should be brought up.
That's exactly right. Well, it's called Reclaiming the Gospel at Home Conference. Again, we're talking with Jim Morris. He's coming. He's going to be sharing his story here at Germantown Baptist Church on the weekend, January 24th through the 26th. Church is located at 9450 Poplar. We've got John and Josh here from Germantown to talk about it. It starts off on Friday evening. There's going to be a family cookout on January 24th around 5:30. The doors open. The cookout at 6. Is that right, Josh?
That's right.
Give us some more details for the weekend.
That evening, we'll have dinner together, and then Jim will be with us, and we'll be hearing more about his testimony. And then the next morning will be a pancake breakfast, and we'll hear from him again. And I believe he'll be speaking on dreams and dream killers. Following that, we have our breakout sessions, and we have different tracks for those where folks can hone in and focus on certain areas.
When you say folks, we're not talking about just men, because we're talking to a Major League Baseball player. This conference is designed for the entire family. Teenagers, guys, girls. I mean, this is for everybody.
Right. We have tracks for men, tracks for women, tracks for senior adults and students as well.
This was very well planned out, John. You guys did a lot to put this together.
You're right. A lot of people worked very hard to make the weekend happen, and it's really grown out of a vision that our pastor has had to make a difference in the home, and his realization that what happens in the home affects so much of our lives, and it really drives everything. And we just have a commitment to making a difference in the home and doing that through the power of the gospel.
And this involves more than just Germantown Baptist Church.
I wanted to say, these breakout sessions, you guys have gone beyond the walls of Germantown. You're bringing in people from other churches to share.
Throughout the region, pastors like Ronald Meeks and Cliff Pace, Jim Collier, Chuck Herring, Todd Brady, Ashley Ray, Mike Priest. So we have pastors from all over the region who will be involved in this.
What do you think about coming to Memphis, Jim? Have you been here before?
I have, several times. I love it there.
When you talk about dreams and dream killers, what are some specific things you want to challenge us with when you come?
The biggest thing with dream makers and dream killers is you need to get the dream killers out of your lives. My best friend, Scott Sager, who was the preaching minister in Dallas, he's the one that married Sean and I, he always said, you don't kick people out of your lives totally. What you do is you forgive them and you reprioritize those relationships, and you bring up the ones that are more fruitful. Those that are chasing the kingdom are the ones that are more fruitful. And so the dream makers in mind's eye are the people who want to help you achieve those dreams, no matter what they are. They will never talk down to you. They never look bad at you. You surround yourself with the best people possible to be the best you can be, and that includes having God in your life. The dream killers are the people who want to see you fail. Either they try to do something and they failed at it, or two, they were too afraid to try. And so if they can drag you down to where they are, they feel better about their lot in life. You know, one of the dream killers I talk about is my dad. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. Why do you even try? You can embarrass yourself and everybody else. Just give up. Those were some of the more pleasant things. And on the other side of that, you have a dream maker like my grandfather saying, hard work, God, and keep God in the forefront of your mind and always give back. He goes, it's not about being rich. It's money. It's about being rich in your heart. My grandfather is my dream maker. Watching their relationship, I know how a marriage works. Right now, I'm incredibly happy. I'm married. My wife is coming with me. And we actually get a weekend away from some of the estrogen in my house, so the daughters are going to stay home. But we're going to have a good time when we come up there. Everybody can achieve their dreams. You just have to have the right support system, and you have to have a plan. If you don't have the plan, there's nothing you can formulate that's going to make that plan happen. It just doesn't appear out of nowhere. You and God have to be on the same page with that.
Hey, Jim, you just mentioned a moment ago about your recent diagnosis with Parkinson's. Is medication helping you? Are you having side effects with this? We can pray for you about this.
What they decided, my neurologist in Houston said that I have CTE-induced Parkinson's, which means that I got too many concussions as a kid. And so for a long time, it was the headaches that were bad. 6-month headaches. Finally, my neurologist tried Botox. The Botox shots helped. I got to get 36 of those every 12 weeks around my skull and my neck. When I get tired, I sway a lot. And when you're talking on stage, I put my hands in my pockets quite a bit now. And most people can't even tell I have anything at this point unless I'm tired, and that's mostly my kids and my wife in the house. So, yeah, being tired is bad for Parkinson's.
Friend, we're definitely going to lift you up in prayer and encourage our listeners to do that, especially that God will, of course, anoint you and give you the strength you need to bring the message home to the Reclaiming the Gospel at Home conference at Germantown Baptist. As a high school teacher and coach, you've had direct input into the minds and hearts of young people. Aside from the academics and the strategies of the game, what are some ways you've encouraged students and players to dream, even when they find themselves in those adverse circumstances like you did, Jim, and feel they don't even have a hope or a future?
Well, I'm not your typical public school teacher or coach. We always talked about God, and we had conversations, and I think the biggest mistake our country's made anything is trying to pull God out of everything, because as you see that, it rapidly declines. So if we can get these young kids to believe in something that is not tangible at this point, but will be somewhere down the line, I think that's a big deal. I always told them that God is always with you. It doesn't matter what your parents do. It doesn't matter what goes on between your house and the schoolhouse. It doesn't matter what goes on with a particular teacher or a coach. I said, there are people like me who are always willing to listen to you, and those are the people you seek out. That's how I ran it. I coached and taught. I didn't yell and scream. That happened to me my whole life, and I don't think that works very well. I think kids turn that off immediately. And I think that kids need to know we're here for them. They are our future, and we need to do whatever we can to make them successful. So we talked about a lot of stuff. Not everything came out of a book, I'll promise you that.
This has been real encouraging. I'm looking forward to your visit, Jim, to Germantown Baptist. Now, I know why you guys found Jim. How did you find Jim to come? Josh?
Jim has a relationship with one of our church leaders, so he connected us, and we felt it would be a great fit, that his story connected with homes no matter what they're like, and so we thought it would be a great fit for the weekend.
I'm thinking so. Now's the time to go online and register. Is that right, John?
Absolutely. You can register at a couple of places. Our website, germantownbaptist.org, or reclaimingthegospelatHome.org. You can register as well as indicate your which breakout sessions you'd like to attend through the weekend.
Family registration, individual registration?
It's individual registration, and then you can register multiple through one transaction, but it's all there.
Okay, and also that includes the meals. You've got meals planned out.
Meals are included. There's dinner Friday night, breakfast Saturday morning, and then we're also offering multi-generational family dinners Saturday evening, where folks can go into homes and spend time with people they might not otherwise spend time with. So we'll have senior adults mixing with young families, and just an opportunity to spend time with the faith family.
Sounds like a great weekend. Again, January 24th through the 26th, Germantown Baptist Church, 9450 Poplar. If you want more information, too, you can call the church at 901-756-9450. Visit the website, germantownbaptist.org. germantownbaptist.org, and you can find out details of registration and really a full event calendar there of all the breakout sessions, the speakers, and the times, and everything's laid out very nicely. I've already been to the website, so I encourage you to go to germantownbaptist.org. I just want to thank you guys, all of you. Jim Morris, thank you for what you are allowing Christ to do through your life for His kingdom, being willing to come to Germantown Baptist Church on January 24th through the 26th.
Absolutely, Byron. Thank you very much.
Well, Josh and John, we're going to have to say goodbye now, but looking forward to what God's going to do for Reclaiming the Gospel at Home Conference at Germantown Baptist.
We're excited about the weekend, and we hope a lot of folks will register, be part of that conference, and allow that conference and the way that the Spirit speaks into their lives during that weekend, we hope will transform their homes and their lives for the glory of God.
The conference is almost the beginning. It's where people will be introduced to the concepts, but at the same time, we also have a Bible study curriculum to continue it, and it's being published and launched that week. It's written by some of these same authors that I mentioned will be a part of the breakout sessions, and so that'll be published then, and each year we'll have another volume for that, for Reclaiming the Gospel at Home, another resource, especially for folks who can't make it to the conference.
It's not just a one-time weekend explosion, it's a weekend generating plant. You'll be able to go on and carry your family with this, too, throughout the year. So
That's right.
Great work, Germantown Baptist. Thanks so much for sharing today.
Thank you.
Friends, that's all the time we have on this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. I do appreciate you stopping by. I'm Byron Tyler. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Mid-South Viewpoint. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can email us. Our address is wcrv@botradionetwork.com. This has been Mid-South Viewpoint, another Christian news and information feature from Bot Radio Network 640 AM.